webinar series for Michell University. Today we're going to be working with Infor FACTS, and we're going to be talking about the recurring postings. For the purpose of the demo today, we're going to be working with FACTS 7.8 for our demo. This webinar is being recorded. It'll be available on our website, so you can visit us at www.michellgroup.com to view this as well as the others in our training series. So let's talk about the recurring. I'm going to go from my main menu into accounts payable. And here, as we work with FACTS, we have our document entry screen. So normally we would go into our document entry, and we would enter our accounts payable invoices. Okay, so we would go here, enter our invoices, and then we would go ahead and print our edit report and basically run our updates. What the recurring allows me to do, instead of having to enter the data here, is to automatically fill this information. So if you look here, we have recurring documents. So a recurring document is something that kind of happens periodically. It's typically something that happens on a monthly basis or a quarterly basis. These are things like, say, your rent, depreciation schedules, lease payments. So if you have a lot of things that you enter every month, instead of having to go into the document entry and enter all the information, you can set up all the information here in the document, in the recurring document entry, and then from there you can go ahead and just run this program and then update the document entry screen. And then from that point, you would go into your document entry and post. So let's take a look at that. Here we have our recurring document entry. I'm going to go ahead and open this up. We have a few set up that we'll work with. Now, if you work with if you work with FACTS, you'll see that this screen is similar to the document entry. We're going to go here and we have a couple things. You can see we have the vendors twice. And that's because we can also use sequence numbers. So for example, in this case, for this vendor, Office Products International, I may have two types of payments. Let's say this was a lease payment. I may have a lease payment that occurs on the 1st of the month and another lease payment that occurs on the 15th of the month. So what I can do is I can create using the same vendor with these different sequences here. This allows me to do that. So let's just kind of open up one and take a look at it. And again, you'll see this is very similar to the document entry screen. So here we have our vendor. We have our sequence. So we have this for one. Again, you can enter a purchase order number. You can choose from your GL tables. Again, this is coming from the vendor. Your document groups, the branch, and so on, the terms, this is all coming from the vendor. Again, you can change this. So this is similar to again, the document entry screen that we normally set up. So it's all set up in here. Months, you can do all. So this one is set up right now to run every month. So if I want to do it this way, I can do it that way. I can also set what months. So for example, this is going to happen quarterly. I want to run it, say, on the 1st month, okay, on the 4th month, on the 7th month, and so on, and on the 12th month. I can do that. If I want to run it twice a year, I can run it, say, in January on the 1st month, and say June, and so on. If I want to run it once a year, I can say run it only in December. I can put these months in here. So this allows me to do it on a quarterly basis or, and so on. You can actually set it up this way. The document amount, again, we're just using here, this is 3/14. The post date, again, we're just saying it's going to be the 10th of the month. So this relates to up here. The cutoff. There's 3 different ways to do cutoffs. If you put it, for example, a date, and you put a date in here, that's when this will stop. If I leave this date blank, this will go on forever. So if this was, say, a rent payment, okay, you would just do this, and what it'll do, it'll generate every month on the 10th of the month, and there's really no cutoff date. If I put a date in there, that's when it stops. So for example, if you're doing, say, a depreciation, you can do it that way. You also have 2 other options. You can do it on a number of postings and an amount. Typically for a depreciation schedule, you would use number of postings or a lease payment. Let's say you're going to do depreciation for 3 years, so for 36 months, you can put number of postings and then here put in 36. Or, again, you're doing a lease payment, 5 years, 60 months, so number of postings, put 60 here. Again, you can set up how you want to do it and how you want to run it. A memo, again, I just put a memo here, and then this is my GL account. So again, this is a setup. If you notice, it's going to click out of here for a minute. If we go to our document entry, you'll see that it's the same screen. This is our document entry screen. Again, here we would just select the vendor. And you can see all this information here. We're kind of populating on the recurring documents. We're entering all this in the corresponding. So again, that recurring document entry allows you to do that. So again, we've just set everything up here. So again, sequencing is for when you have multiple vendors. So in the case you have the same vendor, that something is due on the 1st and the 15th, you can actually create 2 of them here. And again, all the stuff is set up. So what's going to happen now, we run this every month. We're going to create an AP invoice for $314.42. Okay, let's look at the next one. The document review allows us to go in and make kind of a one-time or temporary change. So if you notice here, the screen looks the same. So let's say in that depreciation schedule or that lease payment, the next month I need to make a change. I need to pay a little bit more, pay a little bit less, whatever. What I can do, again, I can search, I can select it, and what I can do is I can change the amount here. Notice all this other stuff is grayed out. I really can't make any changes. I can only change the memo in the amount. So if I needed to do this for, say, $325, I can actually do that. Obviously, it would have to change the amount here because we have to be in balance. Okay. If we go back and look at our regular recurring documents, you can see here now that I've changed it in that review. Okay. You'll see here that it's 314 because that's the original. But the review, I changed it for the next time of 325. Again, if you want to make a permanent change, so here, if you go to the review, in the review, I changed it to 325. You can see here for the next time. But then after I run this, it's going to go back and it's going to change it to the actual one you had before. If you want to make the permanent change, you would go into the actual entry here. It shows the amount here because that's just the current amount, but the actual amount is right here. So if you want to make the change, you would actually do it in this part right here. That's what the review does here. The recurring document listing, okay, just allows me to run a report on what I've got here. Again, recurring documents, and it tells you have been posted. So we posted on 4/30/13. This is the date of my my demo. You can see the current period is May. So we've done our postings for April, so our May is open. Again, if you want to run this report, put a date on there. Again, the status. We're just going to look at all of them. We're going to look at all branches. Okay, and you can see here we have a report. And again, you can see the 4 we have. We have this vendor, V103, with the 2 here, and then this vendor here, right here. And again, you can see the document standard here, and you can say this period. Again, that's that review. I changed it just for this period. So when I run it now for May, what's going to happen is this one's going to generate the 325. These other ones are the same. So you're going to see that in the system. So let's go to the recurring posting. Again, it tells you here, remember to run the following, the document listing, which we did. You can see that our AP current period is May. All right, GL is still in April. Okay, but we've done this. So here we're going to put in 05/31/13. The reason why I'd ask you for a specific date, because you can do this in partial. So for example, if you had something, in this case it was due on the 10th, I could put the 10th in here if I want, and then post the other ones later. Again, it depends on how you want to do it. Best practices is to put the entire month and just run it for the entire month, because that way you don't accidentally skip something and it doesn't get recorded. And again, it's going to ask you, are you sure you want to update these records? We're going to say yes. So here you can see we have this document in the open doc file, and it won't post. So let's see what we got in here. So we didn't update. So let's see what we have in the open docs. We may have to change that. Let's see what we have in the document adjustment. Let's go ahead and actually just create a new one. So I probably have, the reason why that's not posting is I already had that one generated. So we're going to go in, and again, this is because we're using demo data, so we probably have something in there. So let's just go do a new one. So let's go here and select a vendor. And we're going to do all. We're going to say $500, and we're going to do this on the 3rd of the month. I'm not going to put it. No, it does want a date here, so let's put in 5/2015. Okay, so we're done. Okay, let's actually see if we can do. Let's actually do this. And again, this is when we work with demo data. Let's just. Okay, we're not getting any information here. What I'll do is I'm going to remove these. Again, this is because this is a demo database, so I've already posted these a few times. We're just going to start with a new one. we'll just start with the one we have here. This one's never been posted before. Because what FACTS is doing is it's storing the sequence numbers internally, and I've been using this a lot for other demos. So let's just go. And again, you can see what I'm doing here is changing, which again is not something you really should do in a live environment. Do what I'm doing here. I'm changing stuff in the static controls. So because I'm changing this, I already had some postings in the open files, even though I'm changing this. Again, this is a demo, so we can do it, but that's not recommended in a live FACTS environment. So let's see now. We should be able to go here. And we're going to say yes. Okay, so that's, it doesn't want to post. Interesting. Let's see if we can go forward and then 1 month. Okay, let's do this then. Start a brand new one. Let's get rid of this one. Okay, so we're just going to do this. So now we'll have a brand new one. Let's just run this brand new one. Make sure it's okay. Okay. And we're not getting our document for some reason. It says it's posted, but let's see why we're not getting it. It's actually doing it, but I must have a little problem in my demo because for some reason they're in a file. We'll have to check that, but what the process is going to do here, if you go in, the key is once you actually do this and you post those documents here, what this is going to do is at time of posting, you can see it tells you it's been posted to that month. Then what we'll do is it'll actually, in the document entry, it'll actually create it here in the document entry. You would be able to come up here and see the information here. I don't know why it's not coming over though, but I must have a little issue with my facts here because I know the current periods are not. But what it would do is basically bring the information over here, and at this point, you would then just run your regular registers. Okay. So let's just kind of recap what we did, even though I didn't actually do it. But let me again go through the concept of how it works. If you go into the recurring documents section, the recurring document entry allows you to set up the recurring document. In this case, this would be something that's going to occur on a monthly or periodic basis, like a rent payment, a lease payment, a depreciation, and so on. What you can do is you can create your sequences, so you can use the same vendor more than one time. So if you had, let's say, the vendor's your bank, and you had 3 different lease payments, one due on the 1st, one due on the 15th, and one due on the 20th, you can create the 3 using the sequences. This information you see here is basically the same information in the document entry. So you would set everything up. Your months, you can have it for all months. If you want to do a certain month, you would say put in, say, 03, 06. This is only going to run on the 3rd month and the 6th month. So it's twice a year. You can actually set it up that way. This is your amount. This is the post date. So since we're doing it monthly, we're going to post it the 2nd day of the month. Your cutoff, if you want to do a cutoff, you can do a number of things. You can do a date, so you can set a date cutoff. This would be like, again, a depreciation or a lease payment. Most people don't use the date. They use the number of posting periods. So here again, if it's a 36 months depreciation or 60-month lease payment, you can just use the number of postings. You can also do an amount. If this thing reaches 20,000, then it'll stop. So basically, you set it up here. This is the default the amount. So this one's going to be 500. This is what's going to run every month. The review, what that allows you to do is to make a change, a one-time change to it. So in this case, if you want to make a change for the next month, you would go here and you would call it up. And you, again, you can only change a couple things like the amount and so on. So this is going to be 525. What I'm doing is I'm just going to change that again for the next month. It'll use this amount, and then going forward, it'll go back to the other one. So again, if you see the 525 here, well, I have to distribute equally. Again, you notice that if I look here, you'll see the 525 for the next run. But if you go back to the original, it's still the 500. That's kind of a one-time. You just run that on the next run, and what it'll do is it'll make those changes to it. The document listing, again, here you can just run it. And you can see it tells me they've been posted through 0531. to do that change again. Again, I'm just doing this because I haven't been updating my current periods. I've been kind of jumping all over the place. But again, here, you would see the information. And again, you'll see that the standard and what I changed. Okay, for this period. So that means the next time I run it, it's going to pick up that amount. Then you would actually run this. And again, it tells you the information. It tells you the last time it was run, the current periods. The thing is, my GL periods, I need to close into this. That's why I'm running into the issues. So, but I'm going to put in 05/31/13. And again, it asks for a date. You should normally use the complete date. At the end of the month, you can actually put a date of, like, say, 5/15. If you only want to post half the stuff, if you have them on different days of the month. It's always recommended, best practice, put the end of the month to make sure they all come over. I'm going to say yes. And see, I'm just having this information. What the systems do is it's actually creating the document number internally by using the date. So it's using the year, month, day. And then what that will do is bring it over here, and it will just create it for you here. So that creates the document number here. That's why you saw that long set of numbers. It just creates that internal document number. And then from here, you would just run your normal, what you would do for any other document. You would go run your document adjustments and entries here, just out of curiosity. Oh, okay, so here they are on my document entry. They're not showing up on the screen. But here they are in the actual document entry. So we have them here in the actual document entry. So there must have been a change in the period. So here they are now in the document entry. They should show up because these are the two I created here, again, for the different dates. So here's the one here, the entry on the 5/2 and the 5/3 with the corresponding due dates, because I created these two here, information. So actually here, I don't know why they're not in the, let me see if I run that again. There's my distribution. Okay, again, I don't know why they're not showing in here. You should be able to pull them up in here, but you can see the process of what's going on is that they're actually created here. So now when I go run my document entry here, there they are. So basically, they're here in the system. All right, so they're on. So again, what this whole process of the recurring document does is that it just saves us the step of having to enter these two things in the document entry. But here they are on the register. So now they're on the register. They should have the ability of changing them in that system. I don't know why they're not there. But then at this point, you would actually go in, run all your distributions, and then here when you say yes to update, okay, this is the standard what you would do with your AP transactions. So what we're doing is now we're completing the cycle. So if we were to run this report again, you should have nothing in here. Okay, so let's kind of recap that. So again, what the recurring section does, it basically allows me, instead of having to go into the document adjustment entry screen and entering the information here, it automatically populates this information. So again, this is useful when you have several of these. If you have one, like a rent, I mean, you could do it, but it's probably easier for you just to go enter in here. But a lot of our clients that have a lot of lease payments for vehicles and a lot of recurring stuff, a lot of depreciation schedules, a lot of different things, they can actually run it through the recurring. And then what the recurring will do, allow you to do that. So recurring document entry allows you to set up those recurring documents on a periodic basis with all the information. The document review allows you to make a change a one-time, so the next time you post, it'll actually post at a different amount, and then it will go back to the actual amounts. The recurring document listing will give you a listing of the pending ones that need to be posted. So in this case, you'll be able to see them before you actually run them, so you can run this report and say, okay, I know that these, when I actually do my post recurring documents, whatever in this listing is what's going to actually post. And then the post recurring documents actually creates the document entry. Okay, well, that concludes our webinar today. Like I said, this webinar is being recorded. It'll be available on our website. You can visit us at www.mitchellgroup.com to view this as well as the others in our training series. And we thank you for your time.